What's up, y'all? Hopefully my phone doesn't fall because I forgot my mount. I'm not in my car. I'm in my better half's vehicle, so I just got it mounted up loosely on the vehicle here. So if I hit a bump, it may fall. But I wanted to cover what went on recently at Gilroy, Dayton, Ohio, and El Paso, Texas. I've done a lot of posts on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter about it, but I haven't really done a video on YouTube about it. And I find it very important to discuss this. We've really failed the youth in our country. And when I say we, in some situations it is my generation, but mostly I see it as my parents' generation that have failed the kids of today, because we've allowed political correctness to scare us into not speaking out against injustice at the risk of being labeled a racist. And in reality, sometimes you need to hear cold hard truth in order for you to learn a lesson, or to keep you from doing something where you need to learn a lesson. So for instance, what I'm basically trying to say is that leftist ideology is an ideology of death and destruction. First of all, they like to say that they are progressive, but yet all of their actions show the opposite. They're regressive. For instance, they like to have sex, but when a baby results from that sex, they don't want to go forward with the pregnancy. They don't want to go forward with the labor and the birth of the child. So what do? They use politically correct language to relabel that child, and they call the child a clump of cells. And then they rebrand murder as a right. So they say, I have a right to choose what I do to my own body. But in reality, that baby is not their own body. That baby is someone else's body. It's that baby's body. The DNA, the structure of the child, the blood type, they are all different. I mean, they may be similar based upon the parents. There may be some similarities. But overall, that child is a unique individual within the womb and not a clump of cells. It's life. It's basic biology 101. Biology meaning logo or logi is the study of, right? And bio, life. So when you're talking about cells, even if you're just talking about cells, that's life. Okay? But they've now talked about life as just a clump of cells, almost like equating the living cell with the jail cell. So all this rhetoric from progressives is regressive. Guess what that does, okay? If they're the type that bans or censors speech, that is also a regressive way of creating problems for your child. They're banning gender, okay? They don't want you to misgender someone. Well, there are only two genders. Again, that goes back to biology, right? It's science. When it comes to climate change, they like to refer to science. But when it comes to biology, oh no, the science isn't conclusive. Gender is a social construct, they say. No, gender is a physical construct. It is factual, it is tested, it is observable. There's empirical evidence that a male and a male cannot produce a baby. A female and a female cannot produce a baby. And I'm talking real male, real female, not someone that was a male at one time, decided to have a surgical alteration to clip their genitalia and make it appear cosmetically like it is the opposite gender. Even though you do that, you do not have the full functionality of the actual opposite sex that you may be trying to re-identify yourself with. The reality is you are born male and you are stuck that born, or you are born female and you're stuck that born identity. Okay? And so they try to go regressive. In other words, take it back. Instead of moving forward once they're born and moving forward with their life, even though they may not like being a male or they may not like being a female, they have to take it back and change the way they are, which is a real sad statement on society. And again, that comes back to suppression of expression, right? If they're the type that likes to suppress someone who says something that they don't like, guess what they do at home? Guess what they do to their own children? Now, there's a reason why many of the children who are shooters have mental problems. There's also a connection to why people who cannot identify with their gender also have mental problems. They are abused in many ways, either sexually or mentally. One good way to mentally abuse someone is to suppress their self-expression. And they like to project that onto conservatives and say, oh, well, I'm trying to express myself as a opposite gender of what I was born, right? Or what I feel like my gender should be. And you're trying to suppress that. No, the reality of it is you are either one or the other, right? It's empirical. Your structure is what it is. And the real suppression is anyone who goes against that. They cut off your Twitter feed. They take a gun and they shoot at you. It's all connected, right? If you're able to abort a baby after it's born, or even in the womb, you're able to abort someone walking on the earth at a shopping mall. If you're able to ban someone's speech, you're able to abort someone's identity by cutting down their self-expression. And you would do that at home as well. Because if you would abort your own child, if you had a child that you gave birth to, you'll also abort their self-expression as well. Because that's just the same line of thinking. So it's very upsetting to me when I see that these people who are primarily Democrats, primarily socialist, primarily mentally disturbed and on psychotropic drugs, going out and shooting people, abusing the right to bear arms, which is all our rights equally, and then coming on TV and then they're using that as a means to steal our freedom and our rights. They want the right to choose whether to have a baby or not, but they don't want to give you the right to choose whether to have a gun or not. You have every right and freedom to choose to be disarmed if you want. And by my wanting to own a gun, my right to own a gun does not affect your choice of whether you can not have a gun or whether you can have a gun. If you decide you don't want to have a gun, I'm all for it. You want to be a slave to somebody, that's your choice, right? Don't affect my choice, right? And that's what banning is. By banning firearms, you affect my choice or my ability to have those things that I wish to own. My free exercise of my choice and ownership of property rights, right? Remember, the Declaration of Independence is, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of property, which eventually became the pursuit of happiness. How they equate happiness and property? No, I'd rather have my property rights. Because when I get ownership over something, I'm happier. And I feel like I'm more free. Gun ownership is something they keep trying to take away from you. Ownership of property is always under assault. Because again, ownership of property is a form of self-expression. When you choose what you want to own, it makes you an individual and you are expressing who you are individually. And they don't want that. They want you to be one of the zombie herd that they can enslave. You're the group of the slaves, right? We no longer become the home of the free and the brave, right? We become the home of the fee and the slave, right? They tax us. The Democrats like tax. The Green Deal from the socialists is all about tax. It's all about banning and taxing and penalizing and suppression, whether that's through murder, whether that's through cutting off your voice. So we're beginning to see, it's very sad, we're beginning to see that we have failed the youth. We've allowed them to go to schools without going into the school with them and finding out, what is it your teacher is teaching you? You know, we just drop them off at school and we let the teacher take control of our children and pump whatever the teacher wants to pump in their mind. And as their parents, that is your responsibility to watch over your kid. You are abusing your kid by just leaving them under someone else's control to teach them garbage, which can affect them. And in the future, they may end up acquiring an illegal firearm and using it to murder somebody or themselves. We've really failed these kids. And now, for the males especially, to be masculine means to stand up for what's right. Without fear, you boldly put your face in the face of the enemy and stand up when you see injustice, and you don't waver. Political correctness has made it so that Republicans have backed off so that the left can now take control. And now look at the fight we are facing. We must be bold and brave. And they call that toxic masculinity. But toxic masculinity is honorable. It gives up its life without fear for the life of someone else. That's where our masculinity on the right is different from the choices of the left. The choices of the left are satanic. Satan requires you to give your life for him. Love, God of love and Christianity and Christ, gives his life for you. So you can tell them by their fruits, as the Bible says. Ye shall know them by their fruits. If they're asking or taxing you, whether it's your money, which is your life energy, you went and you labored and you gave up energy doing work so that you could earn money, so that you could buy food and feed your family and pay your bills, and they're taxing it from you. They're taking it from you. They're asking you to give of your life for them. When you have a baby, right? And you don't want to take care of that baby, you're asking that baby to give their life for you. That's all satanic. Whereas a good parent, a male, a masculine male, a soldier, whether actually male or female, there are some masculine females who are great soldiers, but they are still feminine. They are real strong women in their own right. And I have massive respect for that. They stand up to injustice and they are willing to give of themselves, take from their life for your benefit, to save you. And I am made in God's image, and so therefore my God gave his life for me, and so shall I do for others. That is the Great Commission. As I do for you, so shall you do likewise for others. Right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Go out and make followers of all the nations, right? Spread the gospel. This is the good news. The good news is that we are living in evil times. There's darkness. And some go, what? That's good news? No, the good news is that we live in darkness, but it's not hopeless. That's the good news. We can change it. And when it comes to the death penalty, here it is. I support the death penalty. And that is not unchristian. Jesus did not go against the death penalty. He did not come so that he could be crucified and then say, you know what? I don't believe in crucifixion, which is capital punishment or death penalty. He said, my mission will be fulfilled through the capital punishment. Right? Because I'm showing what kind of God I am. I am who I am, and I am giving myself for you. Now, the death penalty must be used sparingly, because what the other message is from Jesus is that oftentimes we are so eager to put someone to death who doesn't agree with our ways. Sound like the left, right? That we will execute an innocent man, and no matter what, we put him through a trial, and he's innocent, he's found blameless, but still, we will kill him. right? Sounds awful lot like the left. Always pointing at Trump and Trump supporters and labeling us racists and psychotic Nazis and bigamists and, all these names they label us rather than looking at the evidence. Robert Mueller's report found nothing on Donald Trump, yet the Democrats keep trying to prosecute him and crucify him and us who follow him. And it makes us follow Trump more because we realize he's under attack. And because we are masculine and because we seek the best interests of others, when we see someone being attacked unjustly, we stand up. We resist the arrows and the snares of the devil. And we give of our lives to defend our freedoms, our loved ones, and our president. This is something that Democrats will not understand because their only pursuit is power. And so the whole end-all be-all is, I'm going to work tirelessly until I control the world. And again, this should remind you of the devil, the temptation in the desert, where the devil takes Jesus, who was fasting in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. He's a vulnerable man at this point. Because remember, Jesus was part man and part God, right? Or fully man, fully God, we should say, right? Okay? So he had at that moment, by being wrapped in the flesh like we are, he had all the pains, all the suffering that we had. So by fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. He was thirsty in the desert. So at your weakest, the devil comes. And he comes to tempt you. And he comes to say to you, I can turn that stone into bread. No, you are the Son of God. You can turn that stone into bread. Hey, do it. Make it so, right? And Jesus knows better. He knows, I shall not use that power for that purpose, right? You throw yourself from the parapet of the temple, and I will give you, and God will protect you. Or look out over here in the valley. I can give you all this property, and I'll give you ownership of it. Nothing the devil has the power to do. But he tempts you at your weakest. And God knows himself. He knows very well. Real, recognize real, right? I did a post on that. Is that why did the lions not consume Daniel when he was thrown in the pit with them in the den? It's because God's creation recognizes itself. So be bold as a lion, as it says in Proverbs. I believe it's 28:1. Proverbs 28:1, I believe. I need to go check it. It's been a while since I've looked it up. But it says, The wicked man flees when no one is pursuing, but the righteous are bold as a lion. And we need to stop this cowering to political correctness, where we are now afraid to say and speak the truth, because that's what the gospel is. It is the truth. At the risk of us being labeled racists, or subversives, or tinfoil hat people, or even worse, terrorists, for speaking the truth. Really? You're going to call me a terrorist for trying to bring life to people? For trying to improve life for people? No, a terrorist truly does the opposite. So you see how they work with words and they mess it all up. But they use the emotional power of words to get you to make stupid decisions. So these mass murders, they're going to try to blame guns for murderers. And they're going to try to accuse everyone who owns guns of being murderers and label you as a murderer and why they should take your firearm away from you. They want to declaw the lion. But we will not let that happen. The lion uses its claws for justice, and there's a reason the lion is the king of the jungle. We have failed these children. They've been suppressed. We've allowed people to suppress them. We've allowed child pornography, child trafficking. We've allowed all these great celebrities and people that we look up to so much that our eyes are so starry that there are scales over them now. We are blind. And we've allowed them to traffic children across the borders illegally, open borders, where they can traffic our children and kidnap them and take them anywhere around the world and abuse them. And we have not given our lives for our children's benefit. Instead, we kept to ourselves. We took from everyone else as lives so that we could look good. And we were ashamed to be who we are. But now it's time. No one lights a candle and puts it under a bushel basket. No, they put it on a stand so that that light may shine and illuminate all. Let your light shine. And this is what we have to do. God love you. God bless you. You guys be safe. Be alert. Don't be asleep. We shall be woke now and see the evils that go on. Do not allow the demons to make you a victim. And do not allow the demons to make you complicit with their evil. Don't contribute to it. Stop it. Stand up to it. Be willing to be toxic in that regard. If you like my content, hit that like button. If it's your first time here, hit that subscribe button. And most importantly, if you hit that subscribe button, share it as well with others so that they may benefit from the content that I provide. But make sure you hit that bell button so that you get notifications every time I post a video. God be with you. God love you. And may God make us strong and light to our children